And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel and welcome to Dice Tower Classic Reviews, where I'm taking a look at games from our library that I need to kind of update the review or just kind of take a look back at these older games. Today we're taking a look at Starship Catan. Starship Catan was based originally on the Settlers of Catan, one of the most popular games in the world. Came out very popular, so they made a space version of it called Starfarers of Catan. Well, Starship Catan is the two-player version of Starfarers of Catan. But here's the thing. There's a lot of thematic similarities between the two games, but it's a very different game. In fact, if you see this, there's only the most minor of comparisons between this and the original Catan. It's an excellent two-player game, though. Let's take a look. In this game, you and your opponent are going to each have your own spaceship. This spaceship's going to have booster engines added to it, so you start with 2 level 1 engines, but you can go up to 3 level 2 engines. You start with 1 level 1 gun, and you can go up to higher guns there. You have different spots in here for different types of materials. So here, for example, is food and carbon. I have nothing right now. But if I have this counter here, I have 1, 2, etc. At the beginning of the game, you usually can only have a limit of 2. But as the game goes by, you're going to be able to build modules, and you get to start with 1. So you might start with the logistics module, which lets you store up to 3 things in here. You're also carrying a trading ship and a colony ship, so you'll be able to build more of those. And then you have trade resources and science points, and you have ore, and you have fuel. There's all kinds of things that you can have. Each player also starts with 1 colony, which is worth a victory point. You're trying to get 10 victory points to win this game by establishing colonies and completing missions. And if you're the first person to get some friends or have the most fame points, you get these cards, which are worth points also. The first thing a player does on their turn is they roll the yellow die, which has numbers from 1, 2, or 3 on it. And then you look at all the planets that you have, and if your number matches, you get that resource. And this happens for both players. Then the person whose turn it is decides which sector they're going to go in. They're going to turn over cards from the top of the sector where their opponent's going to turn them over and reveal them one at a time. The number of cards is equal to the number of cannons plus the number on the yellow die. So in this case, it would be 4 cards flipped over. So you flip a card over, this is a trade planet. And you can take 2 actions. You can take more actions if you upgrade one of your modules. And you have to decide as each card's flipped over whether that will be one you take an action in or not. And you'll keep going till you get to the end of your cards or till you take 2 actions. There are many trade planets in the game. Here I can buy or sell coal for 2 coins. Here I can buy or sell food for 5 coins. Now, what you might want to do is there's another trade planet for food that's cheaper. You find one, you can buy or sell for a higher, cheaper price. Some trade planets have a T at the top of them. For those, you can still trade at them like normal, or you can get rid of your trade ship to put it in front of you, and now you can do this once per turn. Also, it gives you a handshake, which is a prerequisite for getting a victory point. Some are colony ships. You simply discard a colony ship if you have one, and now it gives you more resource at the beginning of each turn, and they're also worth victory points. Some of them are adventure planets. At the beginning of the game, there are some cards near the side of the board here, and these show the different planets. So if I found Picasso, which is the one I just found, it says, a gift from the diplomats awaits you on the planet Picasso. If you reach it, you may claim a resource of your choice. Yay! So if I take the action there, I'll discard this card, and then I'll draw another card from the side here. And as time goes by, these can give you victory points and things depending on what you do and if you land on these planets, finding these planets. After you've gone through the deck and stopped at any point, and by the way, I should mention, pirates will show up, and if your opponent comes up, this pirate demands 3 Astra, the money in this game. And you can pay him, or you can fight. When you fight, you're going to take your guns that you have and roll a blue die. Adding those together, the blue die goes up to 4. It has 1, 1, 1, 4, 2 2s, and 2 3s. If you equal or exceed the pirate's strength, you beat the pirate, which will give you a medal here, which in getting medals is another way to get a victory point. And if you don't, then something will happen here. It usually ends your flight, but worse pirates can get there. By the way, whenever you take cards out of a deck, whether it's defeating a pirate or colonizing a planet, there's another deck here of cards, which are kind of sorted in order, that will be added to these decks. And the pirates get stronger, but the planets also get better as time goes by. And then, of course, there's just lost planets, which is just garbage. After you do your flight, picking one of these 4, it's shuffled and put back. And then you can build stuff if you want to spend the resources to upgrade your engines, to add another level 1, cost 2 fuel. To upgrade to a level 2 is 2 fuel and 1 science. You can build more colony and trade ships. You can spend resources to build these command modules. So this one allows me 3 actions. If I build the command module, the production module, it gives me every time the 2 is rolled, I get a resource. So everyone can build these modules, and you can upgrade the modules to level 2, a better version, but there's only 1 of each of these. So if I build it before you, if I build the deep space sensor where I can look at the top 3 cards before I explore, or if I'm the one who builds the expanded production module, a 2 or 3 produces a trade resource for me rather than just a 2, you can't get it. Also, when you upgrade these, they're worth a victory point. That's it. You're just going to keep doing this back and forth, rolling a die, going through a deck of cards, and possibly buying stuff, whether it's more guns, more engines, more ships, or these modules. First person to get to 10 victory points is the winner. The components for the game are fine. I actually like these dials. They work really well. I mean, they're not even attached there. You just move them around. The cards are a little worn from time. They're not the best of cards, and the artwork's okay. But I wanted to mention the rule books. The game rules are very clear. But they have this little Professor Easy rule book that I forgot used to be done, where they walk you through the game. It walks you through a whole little first part of the game. It's really well done. I remember learning to play from this at the time. It's terrific. Now, this game barely fits in the box. There's a lot of pieces here. You definitely got your money's worth from this one. I'm pretty impressed with what comes in this box. I really like Starship Catan. This game was remade recently, well, not recently, but like 5 or 6 years ago, called Northwind, which was a multiplayer version of it, which took place in a more mundane setting, you know, just trading around on a sailing ship. It still was a decent game, but I like this Starfarers thing better. There's a lot of cool concepts here. One of the main attributes of this game is memory, because you need to remember where the planets are. Like, oh, if I want to go find that planet Picasso, oh, that was in stack 1 over here. They're not going to change from stack to stack, and every game it's different. But also, if I want to make some money so I can buy some resources, I know that I want to go here and, you know, buy food for 1, and then go to this stack and sell food for 5. That's kind of a cool concept in this game, and I really like how that works. But the memory, I know not everyone likes memory, right? It's not, everyone doesn't want to do that whole memory intensive game all the time. And yet, I feel like in this particular case, it's not overwhelming. It's just 4 different piles, and you got to kind of remember what's where. And it's offset by everything else. I love the different modules. Which modules do you want to build? Do you want to make your guns bigger? Do you want to make your ships? I love the storyline. Hey, a pirate card came up. Okay. So I want to fight the pirate or just take my beating and end my turn? Yeah, just it's some neat things. That's going through those 10-card decks is a real sense of exploration. And you still get that Catan resource generation where you roll a die and see what your planets go off. You can there's one module that you trade a resource with your opponent, so there's a little bit of interaction, but you're also racing to get 10 points against them. This is not really Catan. The Catan had a 2-player game called the Settlers of Catan card game, which was later changed to Rivals of Catan. That game is also very good and is probably more critically acclaimed than Starship Catan. But my soft spot's for this one. Part of it is because of the space theme here. I won't deny that. Part of it's because of the fun of building a unique spaceship. And do I want my engines faster? I can go through the deck. What planets I have in front of me. Building the colonies and trade ships. What modules do I get the level 2 module before my opponent? It's not a long game. It's like an hour, which is actually a pretty intensive little hour for a 2-player game. And that customization and sci-fi thing kind of elevates it for me. But this is a game that has stood the test of time. This game has been out for 15 plus years at this point, and if this came out now, I would say it's a great game. I really think highly of this one. The biggest problem is, as far as I can tell, it's completely out of print. But it is in the Dice Tower library for good reason. If you ever get a chance, and again, you can get almost the same experience from the Northwind game, which is easier to find than this one. But if this one ever comes across, you know, where you have a chance to pick it up, I highly recommend it. It doesn't feel like many other games that are out there. It has stood the test of time. I would love to see maybe a new version of this with revitalized artwork and stuff. And who knows? They just last year remade Starfares of Catan, the big board game, which is a long, more grandiose version of Catan. This is a better game than the bigger brother, for sure, in my opinion. So maybe they'll remake this one soon. If they do, keep an eye out. But if they don't, check those garage sales, because this one's worth getting. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!